Let's now study the excretory system. But again, we will be mentioning some anatomical aspects of the system. But again, our main focus is the physiology part. Okay, so what are the big ideas that will be mentioned in this lesson? Now, again, number one, the human body needs body systems in order to function, di ba? Like circulatory system, our respiratory system, nervous system, and all the body systems that we have studied so far. So we needed those body systems so that our body can function properly. And without one of these systems, the human body would not function on its own. So I guess that's very obvious. Okay, so for our objective for this lesson or objectives for this lesson, so number one, we should be able to describe the different organs of excretion, though our main focus would be on the urinary system, to describe how the body uses the excretory system to maintain a balanced internal environment. Number three, to discuss the functions of the organs of the urinary system, which is our main focus for this lesson. And number four, to identify the possible diseases and health problems related to the excretory system. Alright, so those are our objectives for this lesson. Now, what would happen if someone never threw out his or her garbage and leftover food? So again, this question is somewhat related to the function of the excretory system. So imagine, guys, what do you think would happen if someone never threw out his or her garbage and leftover food? Okay, so ano kaya ang niyan? Ano kaya ang implication nun? Ayan, no? So pag-isipan nyo yan maigi, guys. No? So our body and the bodies of most complex animals perform life functions. No? Like, again, ano ba yung mga life functions natin? So respiration, circulation, di ba? In order to maintain homeostasis. And one of the life processes that is very vital in the maintenance of homeostatic balance is excretion. Okay, and by definition, when we speak of excretion, this is the removal of waste products by an organism. And some of the waste products that are removed or expelled by the body are the following. So we have sweat, right, by the integumentary system, by the skin. We have urine by the urinary system, and carbon dioxide by the respiratory system. Right, and without the excretory system, many problems can develop in the body. Diba? So like in the question that was raised, so what would happen if someone never threw out his or her garbage or leftover food, diba? So mangangamoy yung bahay nyo, or dadami yung mga langaw, dadami yung mga daga, and pag dumami yung mga langaw and dumami yung mga peste dyan sa bahay, magkakasakit tayo, diba? So it's basically the same. Right? Without the excretory system, magkakaroon ng problema yung katawan natin. So many problems can develop in the body. Okay, so aside from the kidneys, kasi yun ang ating main focus, which is the urinary system, can you name other organs in the body that are involved in the elimination of waste? So I'm sure you are aware of this, no, that aside from the kidneys, there are other organs that are involved in excretion. All right, like the lungs. The lungs, aside from absorbing oxygen, the lungs also is responsible for removing carbon dioxide, which is a product of metabolism. Right? So carbon dioxide must be expelled by the body. So the lungs in a way performs excretory functions. Alright, also with the large intestine. Okay, the large intestine must remove or eliminate solid waste in the form of fecal matter. Diba kasi may mga toxic substances din sa fecal matter. So the function of the large intestine, aside from the absorption of water, if you will recall, one of the main functions of the large intestine is the reabsorption of water. The large intestine also plays an important role in the processing of fecal matter, which is eventually expelled. So the large intestine performs also excretory functions. All right? Okay, and the kidneys. The kidneys remove the bulk of liquid waste in the form of urea, urine. And some of these liquid waste evaporates from the skin. Di ba? Yung excess water and even excess salt, they are eliminated by the skin. So in a way, the skin also performs excretory functions. Alright, that's why I mentioned here some liquid waste evaporates from the skin. And some leaves through the lungs, which can be seen as you breath condenses on a cold day. Okay, so yeah, the skin also performs excretory functions. Also the liver, the liver also in a way performs excretory functions by filtering out toxins in the blood, diba? So we have mentioned this in our previous lesson on the digestive system, that the liver detoxifies certain toxic substances in the blood. Ayan, so these are some of the organs that perform excretory functions, like the lungs, the large intestine, the skin, and the liver. But again, our main focus would be the kidneys, the urinary system. All right. So let us now go into the details of the urinary system. Alright, so the urinary system again is composed of the following organs. We have the kidneys, we have the ureter, urinary bladder, and the urethra. Alright, the kidneys, they are supplied by blood. Blood is supplied from the kidneys via the renal artery, and the blood that is deoxygenated leaves the kidneys through the renal vein. Okay, so we have the following organs. The urinary system is composed of the kidneys, like what I mentioned earlier. So the kidneys, ureters, the urinary bladder, and the urethra. Alright, and the basic unit, functional unit of the kidney is the nephron. So later we will go into the details of the nephron. Okay, waste is filtered from the blood and is collected as urine in each kidney. But anyway, we will go into the details of how the kidneys filters blood and forms urine. Alright, urine leaves the kidneys and goes to the ureters. So dalawa yung ureters dyan, left and right kidneys, and collects or deposits the urine in the urinary bladder. The urinary bladder can distend and expand yan to store urine that eventually leaves through the urethra. Ayan. So the urethra basically is continuous with the penis for the male, and meron din yan sa female. So dyan nag-exit yung urine from the bladder. Alright, so those are the organs or structures that are involved in the urinary system. Okay, let us now go into the details of the kidneys. And again, the basic functional unit of the kidney is the nephron. Okay, All right, so we have two kidneys, left and right sides of the abdominal cavity, and each kidney is made up of three sections. So we have the renal cortex. So everybody kindly focus your attention on our illustration here. So we have the renal cortex. Ito, just follow my cursor. Then we have the renal medulla. Ito yung parang mga triangular structures na ito. Okay, that's the renal medulla. And we have here the inner part of the kidney, which is the renal pelvis. So, cortex dito. Then we have the medulla with the triangular structures. Dito yan ang medulla. And dito yung inner part is the renal pelvis. Alright, the blood arrives at the kidney via the renal artery. Okay, the renal artery is directly connected to the aorta. So, you would realize that the blood flows through the kidneys under high pressure. Alright? And from the renal artery splits into many afferent arterioles inside the kidney. Okay, these arterioles would go into the Bowman's capsule of the nephron, which we will study later. Okay, so those arterioles will eventually go to the Bowman's capsule of the nephron, where the waste are taken out of the blood by pressure filtration. Alright? Okay, we will talk about how the nephron works in a little while. Alright. The renal cortex, on the other hand, is the outer layer of the kidney. Ayan, no? So ito yung renal cortex. That's the outer layer of the kidney. And the medulla is the inner layer. Yan. Though yung pinaka-inner pa is the pelvis na ito, which is continuous with the ureter. Alright, the renal pelvis takes the urine away from the kidneys via the ureter. Yan. So yung renal pelvis na ito is continuous with the ureter. Papunta na yan sa bladder. Okay? Alright, so let us now proceed with the nephron and how the nephron works. Okay, so here is a simple diagram of a typical nephron, which is the functional unit of the kidney. The nephron is composed of a cup-shaped capsule. Ito, as you could see here. Ayan, no? Ito yung cup-shaped capsule called the glomerulus. Alright? So, the glomerulus is highly vascularized, containing capillaries. Right? And there is a long renal tube here. Ito, yung parang yellow. Alright? Okay, the glomerulus, the glomerulus is the main filter of the nephron and is located within the Bowman's capsule. So, yan. So this is the glomerulus that is highly vascularized. The glomerulus is inside the Bowman's capsule. Ito yun, ha? Alright, so to continue, the glomerulus resembles a twisted mass of tiny tubes through which blood passes. Ayan, no, like in this animation. Ayan, no. So ito yung glomerulus, which is composed of blood vessels. Ayan, no. Alright. To which blood passes. The glomerulus is semi-permeable. Yan, so alam niyo na yung term na yan, allowing water and soluble waste to pass through and be excreted out of the Bowman's capsule as urine. As you will observe through this animation, again, blood here flows under high pressure. So since the wall of the glomerulus is semi-permeable, water containing waste materials can penetrate the glomerulus and will enter the Bowman's capsule. Alright, so most of the fluid from the blood will penetrate the glomerulus. As you could see, yan yung mga arrows na yan. Again here, because blood flows under high pressure. So the blood now will penetrate the wall of the glomerulus kasi semi-permeable naman siya and will enter the Bowman's capsule. Alright? Ayan. So most of the fluids will be collected by the Bowman's capsule. Ayan. So yun ang tinatawag natin na pressure filtration as we mentioned here. Ayan. So since the glomerulus is semi-permeable, it allows water and soluble waste to pass through and be excreted out of the Bowman's capsule. Alright? Okay. So, yun ang tinatawag natin na pressure filtration. Okay. So, there guys. Kasi yung renal artery is directly connected to the aorta. So, the blood here flows under high pressure. Ayan. And since the glomerulus is semi-permeable, yung tubig lang yung pwedeng mag-penetrate. So, yung mga blood cells hindi. So, this will make the blood here medyo viscous. No? Kasi most of the fluids will be collected by the Bowman's capsule. Yung fluid na yan contains waste and other materials that should be eliminated. So, ang maiiwan na lang din dito is blood that is a little bit viscous. No? Kasi nawalang konti yan ng fluid. So, I hope you would imagine yung mga nangyayari dito. No? So, since the blood here is under high pressure, the glomerulus is semi-permeable, so blood now is forced out dun sa glomerulus. And since the glomerular wall is semi-permeable, yung mga fluids can penetrate from the glomerulus and will be collected by the Bowman's capsule. So yung lalabas dito na dugo ay medyo viscous ng konti, no? Kasi nawalang konti siya ng fluid. Alright? Okay guys, so what's next? Okay, so let's talk about now the formation of urine. Okay, so here, urine formation begins with the process of filtration. So, nangyari na yung filtration dito sa glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule. Yan, which goes on continuously in the renal corpuscles. Dito sa may glomerulus and Bowman's capsule. Yan, as the blood courses through the glomerulus, much of its fluid containing both useful chemicals and dissolved waste materials soaks out of the blood through the membranes by osmosis and diffusion. Diba kasi nga semi-permeable yung glomeruli wall. Yan, no? Semi-permeable siya. So, most of the fluids lalabas dyan. Yan, and it is collected or flows into the Bowman's capsule. Ayan, no? Alright, so pag labas ng dugo sa Bowman's sa glomerulus, medyo medyo magiging viscous ng konti kasi nawalan nga siya ng fluid, no? Kasi much of the fluid soaks out of the blood through osmosis, then pupunta yan sa Bowman's capsule. Alright, so what happens now? So yung tubig na nawala, kasi kailangan yung tubig doon sa dugo di ba? So yung tubig na yan dapat bumalik sa blood. Okay, para ang makukuha lang ng urinary system would be the waste product, especially urea. Pero most of the water or fluid must return to the bloodstream. Okay? So, ang tawag ngayon natin dyan is reabsorption. Okay? So, reabsorption by definition is the movement of substances out of the renal tubules. Ito yung yellow. Yan, di ba? From the Bowman's capsule, kasi most of the fluid ay napunta dito, kinolekta ng Bowman's capsule, then pupunta yan sa mga renal tubules. Alright? So, dapat maibalik yan sa dugo. Ang kukunin lang would be the waste material, especially urea. So, reabsorption is the movement of substances out of the renal tubules back into the blood capillaries. Alright? So, dapat din mangyari yan. Substances reabsorb are water. Yan, kailangan ng dugo yung water, di ba? Glucose and other nutrients. Okay, sodium and other ions. Reabsorption begins in the proximal convoluted tubules. Ito yun, no? So please follow my cursor, everybody. Ayan, so ito yung proximal tubule wherein reabsorption of water, glucose, and other nutrients would be initiated. Yan, no? Okay, and continues in the loop of Henle. Ito, follow my cursor. Ito yung loop of Henle. Ayan, no? Right, then we have here the distal tubules. Ito, distal meaning medyo malayo na sa glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule. Ayan, no? So hanggang dito yung reabsorption. Yan, and hanggang dito sa collecting tubules. Ito. Alright, so reabsorption begins here at the proximal tubule, then dito sa loop of Henle, then sa distal tubule hanggang sa collecting tubules. Yan, reabsorption of water, glucose, nutrients, and yung mga ions, especially sodium, goes back to the bloodstream. Alright? Okay, so here is another illustration showing the formation of urine by the nephron. So again, here we have the glomerulus. Ito yung parang network, or how do we call it? And so you have here blood vessels. The blood here is under high pressure, and since the blood vessel walls of the glomerulus is semi-permeable, and the blood here it flows under high pressure, so most of the water soaks out of the glomerulus and is collected by the Bowman's capsule. Then the blood here now is somewhat viscous, so the blood must reabsorb the fluids. Diba? So reabsorption of the fluids back into the bloodstream will occur in the proximal tubule. Yan, ito na hanggang dito sa loop of Henle, then to the distal tubule, and by the collecting tubules, again wherein you have reabsorption of water back into the blood, yung mga nutrients like glucose, and ions like sodium. So ang maiiwan na lang dyan pag nagkaroon ng reabsorption would be yung mga waste products like urea. So yun ang very efficient filtration system. Now then the collecting tubules, they are continuous with the renal pelvis. Yung renal pelvis will collect now the urea, no, in the form of urine, then pupunta na yan sa ureters. Ureter. So, 1 ureter per kidney. Alright, guys? Okay, so here is a summary na naka-outline yung here yung formation ng urine. Okay? Alright, so again, we have number 1. So, ito yung glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule. The glomerulus filters solutes from the blood. So meaning yung mga solutes may iwan sa dugo, yung solvent, yung fluids are collected by the Bowman's capsule. Alright? Then we have number 2. Ito, number 2. Reabsorption of water and the nutrients takes place in the proximal convoluted tubule. Ayan, no? So reabsorption of water, nutrients, yung mga ions. Ang may iwan na lang dyan yung mga toxins. Alright, reabsorption will continue here in the loop of Henle. Ayan, no? Pupunta na yung, since the loop of Henle allows water to pass, ayan, dito pa rin yung reabsorption niya. Then, hanggang dito sa, ito, pareho din, loop of Henle. Ascending loop and descending loop of Henle. Yan, reabsorption of ions naman dun sa ascending loop of Henle. Alright, descending loop of Henle, you have the reabsorption of water. Okay, number 5, then you have here a distal tubule that selectively secretes and absorbs different ions. Okay, the maintenance of electrolytes, di ba? And number 6, in the collecting tubules, you have reabsorption of solutes and water from the filtrate. Ayan, so ang lalabas na lang dyan sa collecting tubules would be urine. So most of the water ay bumalik na dun sa bloodstream. Okay guys? Ayan, so that's how filtration and the formation of urine works. Alright? Ayan, so parang ito, here's another diagram. Parang mechanical yung dating niya. No? So tignan natin ito. So this is the Bowman's capsule. Ito yung blood vessel. So since here blood flows under high pressure, parang sinusoak out, meaning pinipiga yung dugo. And since the walls of the glomerulus is semi-permeable, so nasa soak out na napipiga yung tubig, no? And the water will enter the Bowman's capsule. So ang may iwan dito sa blood ngayon ay parang medyo malapot, ano? Kasi most of the fluids were soaked out. Okay? Then from the Bowman's capsule, pupunta na yan sa mga renal tubules. Now, what happens in the renal tubules? Ito, itong yellow arrow. Ayan, no? So dito dadan ngayon yung yung mga fluids na nakuha dito sa Bowman's capsule. Pero yung mga fluids dapat bumalik sa dugo, no? So there is reabsorption of water. So dito nagsisimula sa proximal tubule, then pupunta yan sa loop of Henle, then pupunta yan sa distal tubule. So dito sa mga dinadaanan ng fluids, there is reabsorption of water, nutrients, and ions back into the blood. Ayan, no? Babalik yan sa dugo, yung fluids. So ang may iwan na lang dyan would be yung mga toxins and waste materials like urea that will be collected by the collecting duct and pupunta na yan sa renal pelvis through the duct of Bellini. Dadan na yan, pupunta na yan sa renal pelvis and papunta na yan sa ureters. Alright, so that's it guys. Yan lang naman, napakaiksi lang naman ng how urine is formed and the physiology of the nephron, how the nephron filters out the blood and the formation of urine. Kaya dito sa sa glomerulus and Bowman's capsule, makikita natin yung role ng osmosis and diffusion, di ba? In the filtration of blood, no? So para mailabas yung mga waste materials. Okay, so disorders of the excretory system. Right, so we have the following. Our excretory system is very important in maintaining homeostasis. Okay, there are certain conditions which can affect the excretory system. Alright, so what are these common disorders? So number 1, we have UTI or urinary tract infection. So alam nyo na yan, no? This is a very common disorder. If the bladder has become infected, it is known as cystitis. If the urethra is infected, yung urethra yung sa may penis or sa ng babae, no? We call it urethritis. Alright? So, dalawang klase ang UTI, bladder infection or urethral infection. So, pag na-infect yung bladder, ang tawag dyan ay cystitis. Pag yung urethra naman ang na-infect, it's called urethritis. Alright, UTI is common in women rather than men, no, because of differences in anatomy. So, hindi ko lang ma-reconcile kung anong connection niya, no? Alright. Okay, so yung sa pag-aaral, UTI is more common in women than in men. Okay, because of their anatomical differences. Okay, symptoms includes pain, painful urination, yung masakit umihi, di ba? Parang may burning sensation. Or you have frequent urination, kahit yung parang hirap kang umihi, No, even if no urine is present, parang naiihi ka pero wala naman lumalabas. Okay, or bloody or brown urine. Alright? Okay, this can lead to chills, fever, nausea, vomiting, and upper abdomen tenderness. Ayan, no? Alright. Okay, what about kidney infection? So, this results when an infection reaches the kidneys and becomes known as pyelonephritis. Alright? Common causes can be infection from elsewhere in the body or obstruction of the prostate glands. Yan, usually in older men. Alright? Yan usually yung mga, diba ito yung sakit ni Ronaldo Valdez. Diba kaya nga inoperahan siya dyan nung, hindi cancer naman yun ng prostate gland kay Ronaldo Valdez. Okay. For children, infection can be caused by the tube that drains urine from the kidneys and the bladder. Okay. Note, if left untreated, all UTIs can lead to permanent kidney damage and possible kidney failure. Usually, di ba, antibiotics lang naman ang andyan pag UTI. Yan, general treatment is by antibiotics. Yan. Right. A person needs to maintain good personal hygiene, di ba? Yan. Alright. Siguro kaya sa correct me if I'm wrong Kaya di ba UTI is more common in women lalo na pag they are not, pag hindi sila hygienic, yan, nakaka-infect yan ng urethra. Yan. Ganun din naman sa mga lalaki kaya we have to maintain good personal hygiene. When eliminating waste, either liquid or solid form. Yan. In other words, maligo lang. Dapat maligo tayo. Yan. Alright, and also a person should drink lots of water. Yan, para maiwasan din natin ang kidney disease or kidney failure. Dapat uminom tayo ng maraming tubig. Alright? Okay, another kidney disease na common din will be the presence of kidney stones. Ayan, no? Common kidney disorder yung kidney stones. They form when chemicals in the urine precipitate out and form. Nagki-crystallize yung chemicals sa urine, forming kidney stones. And the most common crystals are from calcium oxalate, while others would be from uric acid and cysteine. Uric acid, yan. Kidney stones are common in men than in women, and can recur anytime. Alright, factors such as recurrent urinary bladder infection, yung kung madalas kang may UTI or insufficient water intake, hindi ka uminom ng tubig, siguro puro soft drinks na lang or whatever. So dapat uminom tayo ng maraming tubig. No? Low levels of physical activity, yung hindi mga nag-exercise. And too much vitamin C and D, ayan, can lead to kidney stones. And too much. Pero hindi naman bawal ng vitamin C. Yung too much lang. Kaya dapat regulated yung pag-intake natin ng vitamin C and D. Right? One of the best ways to decrease the occurrence of kidney stones is to drink a lot of water. Yan, drink lots of water. Yan, uminom tayo ng maraming tubig. And change your dietary habits. So, siguro yung bawasan natin yung pag-inom ng soft drinks. Yan, para makaiwas tayo sa kidney stones. Okay? Alright, symptoms include severe back. Yan yung pag sumasakit na yung lumbar region sa likod. Yan, pag masakit, kidneys yan. Alright, blood in the urine, nausea, and vomiting. Alright, diagnosis involves a complete medical examination including x-rays. And makikita yan sa x-rays o kaya sa sa ultrasound. Usually ultrasound kitang-kita na yan eh. Treatment may vary from letting the stones pass through the urinary tract. Ayan, by drinking lots of water, no, para lumabas yung mga kidney stones. Or ultrasound shock. Ito yung bago ngayon, no, yung parang targeted ultrasonic sound waves para ma-disintegrate yung mga kidney stones. Tapos lalabas na lang yan sa ihi. Alright? Yan kalinagay ko dito. Treatment may vary from letting the stones pass through the urinary tract to ultrasound shock. In order to disintegrate the stones to a small size that can be passed through the urinary tract, para pag nabasag yung mga stones na yan through ultrasonic waves, lalabas na lang yan sa ihi. No? Alright, real large stones, talagang yung pagmalalaki na, requires surgery na yan for removal. Okay? Alright, what else? Symptoms of kidney disease includes burning, or difficulty during urination, yan, mahirapan kang umihi, an increase in the frequency of urination, madalas kang umihi, passage of blood in the urine, puffiness around the eyes, yan, parang namamaga yung mata, swelling of the hands and feet, yan, pag medyo namamaga yung mga paa at kamay, indication yan ng kidney disease. Yan, pain in the small of the back. Yan, masakit yung likod, yan, sa lumbar region. Ayan, pag masakit yung likod, yan, simptomas na yan, no? Senyales, baka may problema yung kidneys. High blood pressure, yan, pag medyo mataas yung blood pressure, nakaka-apekto yun ng kidneys. Remember, the renal artery is directly connected to the aorta. Kaya pag mataas ang blood pressure, naku, it will affect the kidneys.
The urinary or excretory system is another system by which the body rids itself of unwanted toxins or waste. Basically, the urinary system's main purpose is to maintain the body's homeostasis. In other words, its main function is to maintain the body's acid-base balance. It's important to know the human organism was meant to stay healthy, and systems such as the urinary, digestive, skin, and other vital organ systems were created for that purpose. They are designed to keep the body healthy and able to withstand diseases. But if the load of toxins and or waste is greater than what these systems can handle, guess what happens? You can learn more about this by watching CTE Skills Introduction to the Cell and see how disease is created. In this introductory video on the urinary system, however, we'll just be taking a look at the purpose of the urinary system, the structures that make it up, the functions of each, and how they work together to maintain balance in the body. The urinary system, much like the integumentary system, doesn't have many parts, but they are truly essential to the survival of the human organism. Let's take a look at the basic anatomical structures of the urinary system. They are 2 kidneys, 2 ureters, 1 bladder, 1 urethra, and the urethra meatus. Now the 2 kidneys are bean-shaped in appearance. They are located on either side of the vertebral column behind the upper part of the abdominal cavity. The kidneys are protected by the ribs and a heavy cushion of fat called the adipose capsule. They are literally suspended in the body, meaning unattached to any other major organ. They pretty much stay up by themselves. And for this reason, kidney punching in boxing is illegal. Each kidney is divided into 2 main sections, the cortex and the medulla. The cortex is the outer section of the kidney. It contains the majority of nephrons. Nephrons are microscopic filtering units. These filtering units are composed of the following structures: a glomerulus, a Bowman's capsule, a proximal convoluted tubule, and a distal convoluted tubule, and a collecting duct. Together, these structures purify the blood by removing excess water, salt, sugar, metabolic products, and other substances the body needs to purge in order to maintain the pH acid-base balance and thus the homeostasis of the body. Now, the medulla is the intersection of the kidney. It contains most of the collecting tubules, which carry the urine from the nephrons through the kidney to the ureters. The ureters are two muscular tubes, approximately 10 to 12 inches long and extending from the renal pelvis of each kidney to the bladder. Now, the bladder is a hollow sac, much like the stomach, lined by a series of folds called ruga. The purpose of these folds is to allow the bladder to expand as urine is collected. The bladder typically holds up to 1 cup of urine and sometimes more until the urge to void or urinate is turned on. Leading from the bladder is the urethra tube. Its job is to carry the urine from the bladder to the outside of the body. The last structure in the urinary pathway of purging toxins from the body is the external opening to the urethra. This is called the urethra meatus. Now, here's a very important note to make about the urethra and the sexes. In females, the urethra is only about 1.5 inches long, and it is separate from the reproductive system. While in the males, the urethra is approximately 8 inches long, and before the urine exits, it goes through the prostate gland. The urethra in the male is used by 2 body systems, the urinary and the reproductive. Only urine passes through the urethra in the urinary system, but in the reproductive system, only semen passes through. Urine and semen will never pass at the same time through the male's urethra. So what exactly is urine? Urine is the waste product that the urinary system is responsible for eliminating from the body. It's 95% water, and the other 5% is made up of urea, uric acid, creatine, mineral salts, various pigments, and sugar. Excess sugar found in the urine can be indicative of diabetes. In a day's work, the kidney can filter up to 150 quarts of liquid, resulting in about 1.5 to 2 quarts of urine. That's if you're drinking the proper amount of water. Last but not least, each of the kidneys have the adrenal glands attached to the upper portion. These glands have very important functions that will be explained in the endocrine system. Now, before we finish, let's go over it one more time. The basic purpose for this system is to cleanse the blood. It filters out toxins such as excess sugars and salts, as well as other substances. The main structures or anatomical parts are 2 kidneys, 2 ureters, 1 bladder, 1 urethra, and the urethra meatus. Each kidney is divided into the cortex and medulla. Inside the cortex of both kidneys are thousands of microscopic filtering units called nephrons. And remember, it's important to drink lots of water in order for the kidneys and the urinary system to continue to function properly.